Hello, my friends. It is Tuesday, December 27th, and here is the daily brief. So, yesterday I wasn't here. I had a terrible migraine and I apologized. I couldn't be here. Some of you were saying in the comments, take care of yourself. I appreciate that. Some of you were saying it's okay. Some of you were saying, hey, you shouldn't have to apologize for this. And I said, well, but wait a minute. There are 90,000 of you who are tuning in potentially. About a third to half of that will actually watch any given video. And so I take that very seriously, where if you have put your trust in me to actually want to listen, I'm going to show up and I'm going to be as accurate as possible. So thank you for bearing with me here yesterday. Yesterday was just miserable with that migraine. Okay, 1990 off the battlefield yesterday. I didn't talk about that because of the migraine. So what does that mean? The fourth highest daily casualties of the entire war. And again, if we look back, December, November, November, December, 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 November, December, you have to get down about 8, 9, 10 days before you get to May, which is, I mean, that's how far you have to get down before, okay? So that's where we are there. And then 1630 yesterday, and that's tied with 19th place, I think, if I'm correct. I go all the way down to 19th place with 3 or 4 ties along the way, 5 ties now along the way. So it's pretty hot on the battlefield. Now we'll talk about why in just a moment. 1630 Russians off the battlefield, 9 tanks, 30 armored fighting vehicles, 10 artillery systems, 47 vehicles and fuel tanks yesterday. Okay, so let's talk about this. A new week, a new record. This is from the defense of Ukraine. Russian personnel losses last week amounted to 12,580 soldiers. So that's a record for the week, 12,580. Now, they also said the Soviet Union lost around 15,000 troops during the 9-year war in Afghanistan. Now, that's a little misleading. They lost 15,000 killed. They lost 35,000. Here you are from 15,000 Soviet soldiers had been killed and about 35,000 wounded. But if we just look back here and just like 35,000, you're already to 37,000 in December. So in the month of December, you'll probably see, with another 5 days to go at this rate of fighting, you'll probably see almost the losses in December alone that you saw in 10 years in Afghanistan. That's just crazy. That's killed and wounded total. Okay. So Ukraine's Air Force reported on a Shahed drone attack overnight. Out of 60 Shahed drones launched, 36 were shot down by regular air defense, another 23 suppressed by electronic warfare. Now, when we look here, we see that none of 60 Russian explosive drones reached targets. The Russian drone assault caused no damage. Other attacks killed 2, injured several more, and damaged farms, homes, factories, and regions. They're still bombing and using artillery and things along those lines. And so other things had an impact. Now, Russia is producing around 2,000 Shahed drones per month, according to the Defense Express. Now, it used to be that they could produce about 16 per day, but 2,000 a month divided by 31 days is 64. So if they launch 60, as you see here, they launched 60. That's about the average that they should be doing daily, unless they're saving up for a rainy day, given what their production value is. Okay, now, the British Defense Intelligence update said this: Russia launched approximately 2,300 one-way attack uncrewed aerial systems, UAS, of various types in Ukraine in the month of November, once again surpassing the previous month's total. Monthly UAS numbers have been increasing constantly through 2024, with significant increases, greater than 200 on the previous month since July. Okay, so they used to only be able to produce about 16 a month. Now they're producing 64 a month. Okay, but they're not all doing this great damage. And there's a couple reasons why. They're better and better at shooting them down, but not all of them are armed in a meaningful way either. It's likely that through September to November 2024, as many as 50 to 60% of the total launches were decoy UAS. That is, they weren't really armed. They were just using them to, make it hard to know which is which and have to shoot that down so something else could get through. Some of the decoy systems still likely carry small payload of up to 5 kilograms of explosive, ultimately making them no less dangerous should they reach a target. The rate of increase from October to November dropped in a comparison to previous months. December 2024 launch figures show approximately 850 launches so far. However, it's likely that weather has impacted operations in December, evidenced through some nights with significantly larger waves following a period of low or no activity. You look for that pattern. When there's only a few, when there's only like a dozen or so, I get nervous because something big is about to happen. Okay, so that's how we interpret that. So what else has happened? The Ukrainians hit the Novoshakhtinsky Oil Refinery. I don't know if I pronounced that right. I'm trying. In Russia's Rostov region. This is one of the largest factories of its kind. Has completely ceased operations following a targeted attack by Ukrainian forces. SBU drones overwhelmed the refinery's air defenses, and then Ukrainian jet missiles struck the facility, supported by the drones, resulting in powerful explosion. The refinery processed 15,000 tons of oil daily, producing diesel and jet fuel critical for Russian military operation, including tanks and armored vehicles and aircraft, and the shutdown marks a significant blow to the enemy's logistical capabilities. So the Ukrainians were doing to Russians in this oil facility what the Russians tend to do, trying to target, say, the electrical grid. Okay, an explosion occurred in Berdyansk, reportedly targeting the car of Vasily Netsha, the head of the occupation council. An ambulance took the injured person, but it has not been confirmed if it was Netsha himself or someone else. But these kind of attacks are just going to keep happening. The Ukrainians are going to keep targeting people that are bad players that are doing harm to Ukraine in one way or another. The Ukrainian armed forces destroyed a column of Russian armored vehicles during an attempted assault in the Ramika direction. So I'm going to play the first 20 seconds of this, and it's really remarkable that they're going to have a column of anything going anywhere at this point. With drone warfare, this is absolutely absurd that you would be just driving down the street in a column. This used to be a way of protecting yourself, and now it's really dangerous. I just don't understand why the Russians are doing that. The number of killed and wounded North Korean soldiers in the Kursk region already exceeds 3,000 people. I mentioned that last night, but because I didn't do the daily brief in the morning, and I would have mentioned it then, I am mentioning it now. Okay, so there's also a report that over 60% of ammunition used by Russia in Ukraine now comes from North Korea. Now, this is from Kyiv Insider. Kyiv Insider is kind of like Business Insider. It's not really an actual paper in and of itself as much as it's a reposter of other news. And so I went into it, and it was reposting what the Wall Street Journal was saying. And what the Wall Street Journal was saying was of artillery and mortar shells, that sort of thing, 60% now comes from North Korea. And it's baffling that the European Union isn't going, North Korea is at war with a European state. What's going on? But they need to do more. North Korea is also boasting arms flow to Russia of 200 weapons factories operating at full capacity. This is Kim Jong-un's new business model. It's absolutely nuts. Russian occupier shares his impression of a North Korean Type 73 machine gun. He says it's strange. I wouldn't go into combat with one of these. And you see at the very bottom, I'm not showing the whole thing, but the clip is on the top. It's a really weird thing to look at. I don't know how you focus and line up your target. I guess you spray and pray. I just don't understand it. But it's very heavy apparently, and it's not great machinery, but it'll still do damage. Okay, let's look at the front line now. Russians may delay Pokrovsk envelopment for Donetsk Oblast border push. Russian forces intensify operations near Pokrovsk, possibly aiming to widen their salient, envelop the town, or advance toward the Donetsk boundary. Now, I've been looking at this the entire time thinking, okay, they're getting closer and closer to Pokrovsk. When they were 10 kilometers out somewhere over here, it was like, okay, they're in drone range. This is really bad. This was back in August, September, and I was thinking, oh, please come winter, at least I can slow things down. But they keep pushing, but they're not pushing directly toward Pokrovsk, and they're 3 kilometers from the border of Pokrovsk. They're actually pushing out west. Now, I was talking with Greg Terry about this yesterday in this big update, and we were talking about it like this. He was putting the lines out on the map of where things were. Here's Pokrovsk, and he was saying, look, if they can get around this and they can cut off this road, then they can strangle the town. And I think he's right, but I don't know that that's the strategy. The ISW is giving me a different thought here. It remains unclear which effort the Russian military command will prioritize, as Russian President Vladimir Putin may have tasked the Russian Russian military was securing territorial gains rather than seizing significant settlements. So if they push out toward the border of Donetsk, there's nothing but farmland out here, or very little. I mean, a few houses and things like that. It's not like a major city out here. And so they'll be able to take a lot of ground very quickly. So if you're hearing reports of they're taking ground, that's what's happening there. It's different than what it might sound like. Okay. Ukraine, meanwhile, is developing missile capable of reaching Moscow, according to The Economist magazine. Ukraine's actively working on missile program that could reach Moscow, with plans to establish serial production of 3,000 missiles by the end of 2025. The publication highlights that over 10 missile projects are currently underway. The basic model has a speed of 400 kilometers per hour with a range of 200 kilometers. But with each successive one, I mean, if you can get to 550 kilometers, you're on the other side of Moscow, and they're working toward that headlong, because who knows what'll happen in the future and what support they'll have. Okay. Studying the fragments. Remember the Oreshnick missile, and Putin was waving about saying, this is the new missile and we have this great new technology. Okay, well, listen to this. Studying the fragments of the Russian Oreshnick mid-range ballistic missile used to strike the Ukrainian city of Dnipro on November 21st, researchers discovered that one of the parts found among Oreshnick's wreckage had a serial number production date markings of April 12, 2017, according to Defense Express. Quote, the fact that 7-year-old component was inside the missile indicates that this particular Oreshnick missile was assembled around 2017-2018. Since then, the missile itself was lying somewhere in storage. Now, that's not necessarily conclusive proof, but it does seem to indicate that this isn't some new technology that genius scientists in Russia have just come up with. But Putin made a public statement saying this was on, let's see the date, it was November 21st. He came out and said, the strike on Ukraine today was made using new Oreshnick ballistic hypersonic missile, which he claims is just this great technology that the West can come up with. By the way, one of my viewers said in the comment, like, you know how he was saying, like, I give you a challenge, we'll shoot at Kyiv and you use your best defenses. No, a duel is not you get to shoot and we get to try to shoot it down. A duel is you get to shoot and the West gets to use their best missiles to shoot at Moscow. That would be a duel. Okay. Ukraine plans to create cyber forces under the armed forces of Ukraine with the ability to recruit cyber reservists without military status, per a new bill in the parliament. I think this is a brilliant idea. Why it hasn't come sooner? I know that Cyber Command in the U.S. is looking at the same kind of feature where I watched something with, I was kind of nerding out and watching this interview where the head of the Space Force was talking about using part-time, even civilians, to be part of cyber kind of thing so that it's not disrupting their lives and they can be used as necessary. Same kind of thing here. The cyber forces will report to Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces and politically to the President. So I think this is a wonderful idea. They're moving the right direction. Russian armored vehicles. I saw this caption and I thought, yeah, that's right. Signs of burnout at work. Okay, we're only going to watch 2 seconds because I'm going to stop it. Yep, signs of burnout at work. That's coming. Okay. Defense of Ukraine posted a 3-step plan for the week. First, work hard to destroy the enemy. Second, be in a positive mood and keep standing with Ukraine. And thank you all for continuing to stand with Ukraine. By the way, an update on our fundraiser, we are at $92,000. The original goal was $30,000, and it was going to provide 27 drones for Ukraine. Right now, the number of drones collected has been 64 drones, and we're going through Christmas Day. It is Christmas Eve morning right now as I'm talking about this, and man, wouldn't it be great if we could give them 100 drones or something along those lines? I mean, it's just, this is wonderful. Thank you for the support. We specifically chose the idea of a guardian angel as a drone, as eyes in the sky to protect Ukrainian soldiers. So thank you very much. Okay, my friends, so I just wanted to remind you that it is Christmas Eve, and I know that most of you are male and older than me. So I know that in my life, I have waited until the very end to buy Christmas presents for my wife, and I'm not hawking anything, but I am suggesting that if you're married, something like this shirt that says property of my hot wife, okay, something like that is going to be a great present for your wife. Now, it's not cool if she buys it for you, but if you buy it for her, that's awesome. And people will stop you as you're walking through the store and say, wow, that's a great shirt. Did she buy that for you? And you say, no, I bought it for her. And other wives will be tugging at their husband's arms and pointing out that shirt, and she will feel awesome. Now, I'm not telling you that because I'm hawking it. I am telling you, get something like that. I have this one as well. Okay. And I also have another one that says, My wife rocks. Now, I'm just trying to help you here. Happy wife, happy life. So if you are married, go out and find something like that today. In fact, the reason that I got the My Wife Rock shirt, which I no longer have because I wore it till it was holy. I mean, like it was just falling apart. The reason I got that, it was just before Valentine's Day. I was telling a colleague at work, I bet you I can buy myself a present for Valentine's Day and my wife would love me for it. And he said, no, you can't. And I got a shirt that says, My Wife Rocks. And she loved it. All right, that's all that I have, my friends. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the likes, the shares, the subscribes, and thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.